Go ahead and start recording, just so that you're aware of that, okay? All right. So, for those of you that don't know, the Northeast Regional Honors Council is a regional conference or a regional council made up of honors programs and honors schools throughout the Northeast, ranging from Maine all the way down through Maryland. And what we do as an organization is put on a conference every single spring where honors program students are invited to present their research. And so, what this proposal prep session is about is showing you the different presentation formats that your work might take, depending on the nature of the project and how in depth the project is, and we'll go through some of that, and then walk you through the platform that we use to submit proposals. So just ahead, so you should be seeing my screen is shared. Is that correct? Just want to make sure that everyone can see it.
Yes, I see it.
All right, awesome. So what I'm showing you here is just the honors NRHC website. And it gives you there some information about the conference itself, which is going to be held in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania from March 27th to March 30th in 2025. At this time, the call for proposals to present at the conference is open, and it will remain open until November 18th. So the last day that you can submit a proposal to present at our conference in the spring is November 18th. So you have just under a month to get it done. Now, in this on this website, or actually, sorry, in one of the communications that we sent you and your honors directors is a proposal prep tip document, which sort of walks you through the steps that we're going to go through tonight. You should have gotten that. If not, I can make sure it's available to you when we're done here, and I'll happily share this with anyone that needs it. But it was sent out to faculty, faculty directors, and honors program staff and administrators. So the idea here is you've done some honors work, you've done some research, or you've worked on some kind of project, and you want to potentially submit it to present at NRHC. Now, every year, the NRHC crafts its conference or frames its conference within a theme. Last year's theme was technology and how technological advances make humanity better or worse off, depending on your perspective and the type of projects that people do. This year, we're going to be talking about civic engagement. Now, it is not a requirement that your project or your proposal is related to the theme. So if you're doing work that you can't really see a connection between what you're doing and the theme, that's totally okay. It's not a requirement. But if you can work that in, or you do see that connection, that's really great because it allows for people who are going to interact with you at the conference to really put everything into perspective from the framework that the conference theme is coming from. But either way, what you're going to do there's a link in this document and also on the NRHC website. If you scroll up to the top and you go to the 2025 conference, you can click on this link that says conference theme. And when you do that, it'll take you to this page, which has like the full, I'm not going to read it to you, but it's the full like conference theme that'll be the framework that we operate under. But either way, what you want to do first is once you have a project in mind that you would like to present, you want to try to figure out where and what we call them strands, but basically what academic discipline your project falls into. And we have 9 of them. So we have the arts, which would include music, performing arts, film and photography, and fine arts. Another strand is business, economy, and technology. education, history, politics, culture, honors ed and practices. That's often more for faculty and administrators, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. Language, lit, and philosophy, media studies and communication arts. This would be everything from mass media to journalism and digital communications. Then natural sciences, mathematics, and health. And then lastly, the social sciences, which includes everything from sociology to psychology, geography, and the law. And if you click on the link here, it will take you to this page, which gives more information about the different presentation formats, which we'll get to in just a second. But if you scroll past those, it gives more complete descriptions of the different strands that we just talked about. So if you're not sure where you fit, take a closer look at some of these descriptions and see. Because what you want to do when you go through the proposal submission process, you want to indicate which strand you think your project fits the most neatly into. And it's okay if your project is interdisciplinary or you don't think that it falls neatly into any one of these. That's fine. Just pick one that you think it's the closest to, because we use that as a jumping off point to structure the different the schedule for who's going to present together and at what time. So we use that as a way to do that. And things can get shuffled around, and that's fine. So just pick something that you think is the most closely related to what you've been working on. Once you've done that, the next thing to do is decide, well, all right, I have a project. I think it fits best in the social sciences because I'm a sociology major and I did research with one of my sociology professors on some sociological question. Then the next thing you want to think about is, well, what kind of presentation do I want to give? And there are different, what we call presentation formats that your proposal can take. And that ranges from an academic panel presentation, which is a traditional sort of academic talk, which would last anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, usually, but not always, accompanied by a PowerPoint, or in the case if you're doing like some sort of performing arts, you'd have access to some digital way of showing what it was you worked on. That's the traditional academic talk, right? You could also do a poster presentation. A poster presentation typically is a little bit more of an informal or casual type presentation where, if you haven't been to a conference before, the poster sessions are set up where in a large space where many different people set up their posters at the same time, and attendees sort of mill about and walk around and interact with poster presenters whose posters they think are interesting or are related to the type of work that they are doing. They're really nice for sort of informal type presentations where you're not really going to have like a 10-minute talk. You'll have more like a 30 second to 1 minute, maybe a little bit more sort of prepared remarks. And then the rest of your interaction with an attendee would just be sort of Q&A or just conversation and discussion about your project in a less formal setting. Poster presentations are really nice for projects that are not as well developed or still sort of in the developing phase, where you don't have like 12 to 15 minutes worth of presentation material to give. But that's not the only reason that people would do poster sessions. Some people like the interaction and the interactivity of a poster as opposed to a panel presentation, because in a panel presentation, you're not going to have access to everyone as an attendee at the conference. You're going to be in a room with maybe 3 to 4 other panelists. And the only people that are going to see your talk are the people that come into that room at the time that you are scheduled, because we schedule all the talks sort of together in blocks. And so you have a wider audience for the poster presentations. But for the panel presentations, you'll have people who are more specifically interested in what you are talking about, because they'll have the description of all of the talks beforehand. So you have to sort of balance that too. If you're interested more in discussion and feedback and interactivity, a roundtable discussion might be more your speed. This is something where you would have like maybe 10 minutes of prepared remarks, also accompanied by handouts and other visual aids, like physical visual aids that you would hand out with people where you want to discuss certain aspects of your project or certain aspects of your topic with other people who are learning about your whatever you did for the first time. So that's a roundtable presentation, and those usually are simultaneous with maybe 5 or 6 others. The idea exchange generally is for is another strand or a presentation format rather, and it's generally for faculty and staff. But if you are doing or have done honors project work with your honors director about how to increase engagement or something like that, or attendance at events, and you think it fits into idea exchange, that's fine. Personally, I think those belong better in roundtables. So if you're doing that kind of work, you might pick the honors strand, the honors education and practices strand, but propose to present it as a roundtable as opposed to the idea exchange. We generally invite faculty and staff to present during idea exchange, not so much not so much students. We'll also have a performing arts and film showcase as well, but that's separate from the arts strand. The arts strand is really more for people to have an opportunity to talk about like the academic side of the creative work that they've produced, rather than the actual performance or the creative work itself. So just keep that in mind as well. Does anybody have any questions so far, or am I going too fast?
No questions yet, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, you have a strand, you know you want to give a poster. Now the next step is to prepare the proposal, which you will submit by November 18th, don't forget. And then once you've submitted it, it will be reviewed by faculty like me, to make sure it ticks all the boxes. And I'll show you the rubric that we use to evaluate proposals. But basically what you're going to do for the written part of your proposal is come up with a 300-word summary of the project where you give basically an abstract. We call it a proposal, but it's basically just an abstract where you introduce the topic, give some context for why it's important in your discipline, what previous research or previous work have shown. Talk a little bit about the methodology you use, the results that you found, and some form of conclusion, right? And it's okay if your project isn't completely done. Like if you're still in the, for example, data collection phase and you don't have results yet, you can talk about anticipated results. That's totally fine. If you have data but you haven't, analyzed it yet, you can say that. That's fine. You can give anticipated conclusions. As long as you have a cohesive narrative for whatever stage your project is in, that's what we're looking for. Okay, in the proposal, the written 300-word proposal. Okay. Any questions about that?
I had one question, and it actually was about the if we didn't have the results yet. I am still in my data collection stage. So for the results section of the abstract proposal, so we basically just talk that do we mention that we're still in the data
You
collection
can.
phase? Okay. And do we just like
Um,
say predicted results, kind of
yeah,
like
you
what
can
we
do
put
that.
in the introduction part of a
You can
thesis?
absolutely do that. And depending, so some of the thing with this is true for all conferences, all professional academic conferences, which is often you'll be proposing the proposal submission dates are always way ahead of when the conference is. And so that's completely normal for you to be in the process of finishing up some aspect of the project. So that's totally fine. If you want to say predicted results or we hypothesize that and we're in the process of analyzing data. By the time I get to the conference, I'll have concrete results and conclusions, but here's what we expect to see, whatever. That's totally okay.
So can
Um,
we use terms like I and we or no?
oh yeah. So
Oh,
yeah, no, if you are I know it's okay. There is I see in the proposal thing here. I didn't write this, so don't blame me. There is a debate in among academics whether it's appropriate to use first person I, we, as opposed to third person, like the researchers. Personally, I'm a neuroscientist and biology, psychology person. And so this can also vary a lot by discipline. But I can tell you that in biology and psychology, it is if you are the person who did the activity, the action, like did the research and analyzed the data, it is perfectly reasonable and in fact supported by like APA, the American Psychological Association style, to use I. If you are the actor, right? If like so example, I analyzed my data, I found, or if you're in a research group, we. That's totally okay. You generally wouldn't want to use I or we when you're talking about background literature that you read. So you would not say, I read, you know, Coakley 2018, and this is what I learned, right? That's because in the context of talking about other people's work, they are the ones who did the work, they are the ones who drew the conclusions, so they are the actors. So you wouldn't talk about yourself, you know, reading their work because you're not supposed to be like a passive actor in this kind of writing or this style of academic work. But if you were the one who recruited the participants, if you were the one who designed the project, if you were the one who conceived of the theme for your artwork, then it's perfectly reasonable, in my mind, to say I or we. Now, this is also a conversation that you should have with your faculty mentor, if you did work with a faculty mentor, or your honors director, who probably would want to read your proposal before you submit it. So I always highly recommend that you don't do any of this stuff on your own. Like these should be back and forth conversations that you have with your faculty director and your research mentor. And I say that also because, you know, if you're a first time presenter at a conference, I know, Ani, I'm going on longer than what you asked, but I'm glad you brought it up.
No,
Don't
thank you.
don't feel like, am I pronouncing your name right, by the way? I just want to make sure.
Yes, you are. Also, I'm in psychology, so I
Oh, okay,
completely
good.
understand what you meant. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, you know, don't feel like when you look at this proposal prep sheet, don't think that that is the only resource that you should use to decide what to do, right? These are just a set of guidelines. And you should always, I hope, feel free to reach out to and have candid conversations with the other people that support you at your home institutions, right? So if you're like working on a project and you're not really sure where it fits in terms of the strand, ask somebody. Feel free. I mean, I hope you have that kind of relationship with people around you. You can do that, or ask fellow honors program students who have presented at conferences, whether it was NRHC or not. So feel free to do that too, and certainly feel free to talk to other people about where your project fits in terms of the format, right? You might think it's a talk, like a panel presentation, but when you talk to your faculty advisor, they may say, well, you know, a talk would be some for a project that is a little more further along in terms of or broader in scope or has more detail or more depth. What you're doing really fits better as a poster, right? And that's okay. So don't feel like you have to make that decision all on your own. And certainly if you're not getting the feedback from folks on your end, reach out to the Northeast Regional email. We can absolutely try to help steer you in the right direction for this too. And in fact, I'll put that email in the chat. If you have any questions about, it's in this proposal prep sheet too. Really long email, sorry. It's Northeast Regional Honors Council at gmail.com. So once again, don't think that that's the only, like this is not the only resource that you can have in front of you when trying to do that. Are there any other questions before I show you how to like actually go through the submission process? Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so let's take a look on. Oh, so when you go to the homepage for NRHC, which is nrhchonors.com, you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a link here that says CFP is now live. That's where you would click to actually go to the submission page. And when you click on that link, you're going to be taken here, which should say welcome to NRHC 2025 proposal submission site. And note again, it closes at end of day on November 18th. When you go through it, it's going to say, make sure you're using your college email address. Make sure to enter your honors director. You're going to have to enter, you're going to have information about your honors director too, because when you submit your proposal, your honors director is also going to get a copy of what you propose. Once again, I have to stress that it's definitely in your best interest to at least notify your honors director that you plan to submit a proposal. Even if they don't respond, or even if they, if you don't have a close relationship with them, depending on the size of your program or whatever, definitely keep them in the loop. Because the last thing you want is to find out that you submitted a proposal, it got accepted, and your honors director didn't know, and they can't support your travel, or they can't, cover the cost of the registration or whatever. So definitely, just in terms of like communication, make sure you're telling people that you're doing this so that it's not a surprise to anyone at the end of the line. Okay. Step one, read the conference theme, choose your presentation format. We've gone through all that stuff. And then when you go down to the bottom, what you're going to do is you're a new user, right? You're going to create a new thing. I think I'm an old user. Let me see if it works. Let's find out. And then you're going to click on login. And if I scroll down, oh, it doesn't like me. All right, so I'm going to make a new account, right? You're going to go join now. And when you do that, you're going to be asked for a whole bunch of information that you're required to put in. You need your first name. So I'll be Johnny Test Guy. Actually, I think I already made him. So we'll be Jimmy Test Guy instead. So I'm going to make just like a fake account just so I can walk you through how this works. Okay. You have the option of giving prefix, suffix, pronouns, mailing address, all that stuff. But really what's needed the most is an email address. I don't think I can use this email address because it's already associated with another account. So I am going to use my personal account, but you won't do that. All right. You will use your actual school email. But because I'm walking you through this, I already have an account with my school email, so I'm using my personal. Is that okay with everyone? We get it? Good talk. Okay, put in your school. I'm Bloomfield College of Montclair State University, so I'm going to put that in. And then we scroll down. You're going to have to create a password. I'll do some. Pick up a password that I'm going to remember. So give me a second. Okay. Again. And then I'm going to create an account. Oops. See? I didn't remember it. I couldn't even remember it in 5 seconds. Okay. There we go. Okay. So once you do that, what you need to do is give consent for how the proposal platform is going to use your information. It's just a legal disclaimer, and you can decide whether you agree or disagree. But if you disagree, sorry, you're not going to be able to. There's nothing in there that's super scary, trust me, or at least I hope not, because I'm in there too. So think of it that way. So you're going to consent. Okay. Once you've done that, you're going to be brought to the place where you begin a new proposal and fill out the information with your proposal wording, authors, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to click here to do that. Come up with a proposal title. Right. You're going to select a presentation type. I'm just going to say it's a poster presentation. And again, it has all of the descriptions right there, so you don't have to be fumbling around looking for stuff. And then you're going to click submit, and it's going to take you to the next page. And then in the next page, so what you'll see here is at the top, it'll say your proposal is incomplete. To continue, view the list of tasks below, then click on each task to complete it. Once you've done each task, it'll get a green check. So the first thing that you did was create an active proposal, and it has been added. So the next thing you got to do is click on the first step, which is proposal submission. And in there, you're going to select, it should have your title, it should auto add that. You need to add your strand. Let's say I'm doing honors ed and practices. Come up with, you would just copy and paste your proposal abstract. Don't write it right in there. Because if it gets lost, that's the only access you'll have to it. So you should probably have it written on a Google Doc or somewhere else, right, where you have access to it. And once it's in its final draft form, and hopefully you've received feedback on it from elsewhere, copy and paste it right into there. And once you've done that, you click continue. As long as you filled something out in each of those fields that have an asterisk, you'll get a check mark when you click submit. The next step is to add more details. This is going to ask for information about, are you a junior, a sophomore, or whatever, right? I'll be another, proposer type. Are you a student? Are you faculty? Are you staff? Same faculty. Are you interested in being a moderator? So what moderators do in the academic panel talks is they facilitate and make sure that everyone gets the right amount of time. They introduce the speakers. They make sure the whole session runs smoothly. Generally, we ask faculty and staff to perform this role, but we have had students doing it in the past. So if it's something you are interested in doing, feel free to say yes. Generally, I would suggest that if you are a first-time presenter, you don't need to do that. Let's see in the chat, are you able to be a moderator if you have a poster presentation? No, so moderators are only for the academic panel presentations. Poster sessions don't have moderators because everyone's sort of presenting at the same time in a poster session. The academic panels are the ones that need moderators because it's like, okay, Ani, you're going to speak first and introduce you. And then after your time is up, we'll introduce Nolan and we'll decide when we're going to do Q&A and all that kind of stuff. So it's making sure that all the presentations are loaded on the computer and everyone has the right amount of same amount of time allotted to their talks. If people are getting, give them a 2-minute warning, 1-minute warning, like that's what moderators do. So it wouldn't apply to a poster presentation or a roundtable, really. Actually, no, it would also apply to roundtables. Sorry, because they have someone facilitating those as well. Again, if it's your first time attending, I generally wouldn't suggest it, but I've done this, so I'll say yes. More for students, though, is, are you interested in joining the Student Activities Committee? We're always looking for students to join our student reps on the board to help craft, curate, plan, and set up for the student events at the conference. And there are going to be 3 of those this year. There's the first night is going to be an icebreaker event. I forget if it's a game night or if it's, I think it's going to be a game night. There'll also be, I think, a karaoke night. And then the signature event is a gala, which will have a DJ, a photo booth, dancing, appetizers, the works. And so if you're interested in being a part of helping our student reps plan that, please consider saying yes. It's a great way to get involved in NRHC. It's a great way to meet students from other schools. And it's a great way to really connect and network with other folks in the region. So I highly recommend you consider doing that. They're also a really great bunch. And then the last thing that you'll be asked to do is ask for information about our research journal, Illuminate. So what we often try to do is we try to, funnel people who present at NRHC into getting their actual project published in a written research journal, which is what Illuminate is. And NRHC has its own research journal. And if you're interested in writing up your research for publication, that is a great opportunity to do that as well. So if you're interested in that, please click yes, and you'll get more information about that. Then you click continue. Excuse me. Then you have to add your honors director and any other co-authors. So if you have, let's say your honors director is me, you put their name, their email, and then you want to put their role. They're either a co-author or an honors director. So say that's the honors director. And if you had, let's say, another author, like a faculty mentor, who wants to be or should be an author on there. Yeah, so I see the question. If you have a faculty advisor, are they a co-author? That's always a conversation you have with them. Generally, professional courtesy is if you worked with a faculty mentor and you plan on presenting or publishing work that you have worked together on, or you worked in their lab or whatever, you would let them know that you're planning on presenting and ask, and tell them that you plan, that you wanted to add them as a co-author and give them the opportunity to decline if they care to, but generally they won't. And it's also great for faculty and students to be represented as ambassadors for their institutions too. So generally what you would do is you would add their name. I'll add someone else. I'll make up an email. It doesn't matter. And then in this case, if they were a co-author, like a faculty mentor or another student who is a co-author on the project, you would select author as their role if they're not your honors director. And then once you've done that, then you have to click add. No, he's there. He's there. No, it automatically populates. Profile complete. Profile, that's just me. I think that's good, right? Do we have to add another one? No, you don't have to add another one. So it automatically populated. We can remove that guy away. And then save honors director info and co-authors. And then I'm getting an error message. Uh-oh, my profile isn't complete. Sometimes you get an error message. You have to go in and edit their profile. I don't know what's wrong with me here, but let's figure out what it is. What am I missing? I don't see it. Oh, it wants me to rechange my role. Is that what's going on there? Yeah, that was wrong. It just had the roles switched up. Sometimes that can happen. Once they're both green checked and everything's checked off, go ahead and click save. You should see 3 checks. Then you're going to click save submission. And once it's saved, that means you have a proposal ID, presentation type is set, status is active. You see 3 green checks. You can, if you care to, get a preview of your proposal so you can check it for errors. Make sure everything is what it's supposed to be. If you want to print it, you can print it. But when you're ready to submit, you go to previous and then click on submit. And that's it. And that's that. And then once you do that, you should get a confirmation email along with any of the co-authors and your honors director whose emails you put in. And that's the whole process. Does anybody have any questions for me? I can stop sharing here. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the conference, about the proposals, about the strands, about any of it. I'm happy to field questions on if you have any.
Do you know around when we should expect to receive a response back on if we got accepted?
Yeah, so December is usually when you would hear. So basically as soon as the submissions close, which will be November 18th, we start reviewing them immediately. And we plan to have them out in early to mid-December. I don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but it's in December for sure.
And even if we get declined, will we still hear back?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we don't leave people in the dark like that. That's mean. That's just cruel. You will get an answer either way. And if you don't, please reach out to us. Email the Northeast Regional Honors Gmail because that certainly has to happen. Any other questions? All right. Well, I'm glad it was helpful. And if anything comes to mind, feel free to reach out to our email address, Northeast Regional Honors Council at gmail.com, which is in the chat. This session was recorded. We'll get that posted as well. And then happy writing, and we look forward to seeing you at NRHC. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.